Paul. I am an alumni of TripleTen Software Engineering Program. I'm a full stack engineer and a technical product owner. I'm very excited to host TripleTen September QA Bug Jam. Very excited to see what our teams have in store for us tonight. Thank you for joining, or thank you for watching this back on replay later if you're not able to join us live. The Bug Jam is always one of my favorites, as are many of the code jams we do, because they're so wonderful in uniting all of our students across the US coast. So, from coast to coast, everywhere in between, it's a good time. If you are new to maybe this space or new to watching, hello, thanks so much for watching. But you might be also wondering what a code jam is, or in this case, a bug jam. So if you're concerned that we're going to be doing any sort of cockroach stomping, you don't have to worry. That's not going to be quite the bug that we are looking for this evening. If so, a bug jam is a friendly competition here at TripleTen where we put our students through their paces during their normal coursework. It's really a super short competition where a group of our students get together and they jam out a bunch of work to meet the prompt. In this case, they're jamming out all of the bugs, right? They're really focused on making sure that they get all of the bugs from a piece of software. And you may be asking yourself, what piece of software are they going to get these bugs from? And I'm so glad you asked. So, our bug jam does consist of two parts. We have the QA part, which is quality assurance, and the presentation part. Now, we're here right now doing presentation, but the quality assurance part, that's the bug hunting, occurred last week. They were divided, the students were divided into teams, and then they were collaboratively checking apps that were created by our July software engineering and data science collab project. So we had in July another jam, just like the one you're watching now, except we had two different cohorts with us, one from software engineering, the other from data science, and they got together to create and develop inspiring websites and applications uh, to help people create an optimal route for summer vacations, which I personally really appreciated because myself and my cat Sharkbait really were getting bored at home. So this was very helpful. We asked our QA students this time for their jam to check one of those applications. Now, this one is called Day Tripper. So it was created in for our July jam by the team, the Data and Code Miners. So big thanks to them for letting us QA their project when they also had a very short time. I really appreciate the learner supporting learners aspect of it. So the Day Tripper app was an interactive web platform used to help users discover and plan summer trips based on their available time. Sharkbait had plenty of time off. I unfortunately did not. So now, getting back to our QA students, today our students are going to show off the results that they've been working on. They only had 5 days to QA these projects and put together their presentation to give all of you the updates on what bugs they found, what's the severity, and what's the real impact. In the next week, the judges will be evaluating both the QA part and the presentation part. All of our results will be posted on Hub and LinkedIn and Instagram and all the socials you can possibly imagine by September 17th. All of our students who are watching this can vote for your favorite team on the Hub. And if you're not a student of ours just yet, you can vote for your favorite team in the live chat section underneath me. Or if you're watching this on replay, you can hit those comments and you can pick your favorite team. All you have to do is just write the team name. There's no like hanging chads. It's very simple. All right, we have two teams tonight and we have representatives from each of them. So let's get to the good stuff. The first team that we have tonight is going to be the Bug Hunters. And this is a pre-recorded presentation. Both of them are pre-recorded presentations, but we do have representatives from the team here with us live. So we'll be chatting with them afterwards. First team is the Bug Hunters with Benjamin Horowitz and Valentina Angulo. Now we will all relive the nightmare and trauma that is me having to share this screen. Here we go.
Hello, my name is Valentina. I am one of the two members of the team Bug Hunters who had the opportunity to QA the app, the web platform named Day Tripper. So the other member I had the opportunity to work with goes by the name of Benjamin, who is actually a TripleTen alumni for the QA engineering program. So, what is Day Tripper? Day Tripper is a summer sightseeing road trip web platform that is designed to help users discover and plan summer road trips. The platform aims to simplify road tripping and offers real-time suggestions and builds an itinerary for the users. And it's ideal to make trips or trip organization faster, more efficient, and it does tailor individual preferences like landmark preferences for the user. So the testing methodologies we used, we used functional and non-functional testing. For functional testing, we did UX and UI design along with smoke testing. And for the non-functional testing, we did performance and cross-browser testing. The tools we used, so for bug tracking, we used Jira, and for documentation, we used Google Sheets for our test cases. And for cross-browsing, although there was a focus on Google Chrome, we did also use Microsoft Edge, Mozilla Foxfire, and Apple Safari. So our main form of communication between Benjamin and I was through TripleTen's Hub, which we used to divide up work between each other, ask questions, and just keep in contact throughout the project. Of the total test cases that we did find in the project, there was a total of 87. And of those 87, 48 of those test cases passed and 39 had failed, meaning we had found 39 bugs. And between those 39, we had broke them down into different severity levels. So the four most critical ones that we had found was the trip route never did include landmarks chosen by the user. The second being a missing password field in the sign up modal. And the field validation also did not adhere to the developer rules. And lastly, that unfortunately made the sign up and login abilities non-functional. For the medium severity, there was some time required. The time required filter was unable to filter landmarks greater than 3 hours. And also there was UI designs on the main page. For the low severity, the only one that we had found was app resizing issues. So the first requirement that we'll discuss is the Your Trip Summary dashboard. So the intended use for the Your Trip Summary was to display an overview of all the selected landmarks for that trip, such as the route, so how the landmarks were to be throughout the trip, the number of stops, and the total distance in the trip. And when a user would add a landmark to their trip, the landmark name would appear under the landmark section, and the trip summary to statistics would update accordingly, and the user can add a total of up to 5 stops in their trip. How the Your Trip Summary dashboard actually performed, as seen here in the picture in the middle. On initial load, the landmark section was missing a value, and the user could actually add more than 5 total stops to their trip. And the total distance was actually missing a unit of measurement, and the value would overlap the text box when 3 stops were added to their trip. The most critical bug we found here for this requirement was once a landmark was added to the user's trip, the name of the landmark would actually not appear on the trip summary dashboard. But once a second landmark was added, no matter what landmark was added by the user, Grand Canyon National Park would be the first stop, and Yosemite National Park would be the second stop. So the idea of a customized and personalized route for the user's desired landmark just wasn't uh, just wasn't available. And the second requirement that we went over was the supported environments. Here, there actually was no bugs found. The web platform did perform well in high and low resolutions, and it was compatible with all major browsers previously mentioned. It adapted seamlessly to mobile devices in many screen sizes, and it did adapt well to orientation changes between landscape and portrait mode. And I will hand over the presentation now to my teammate Benjamin.
Hi guys. So now I'll be taking over for the second part of the presentation. So one of the bugs we found that was critical was the missing password field. So for this, when the user clicks on the sign up form, they're unable to complete the sign up form and unable to log in because the sign up credentials, they only include the username and email. And because the password field is missing, the client, meaning the user, is unable to pass the sign up credentials to the server on Daytripper and authenticate their credentials on the back end to create an account. So without fixing this bug, the users would be unable to log in and save their routes they want for attractions. Overall, I think this bug will lead to user dissatisfaction and reduce revenue and traffic to the website if the developers do not fix this bug. So another one is the unable to use login. This one's critical because without the user being able to authenticate their sign up information, they will not be able to utilize the login feature, making it impossible to use because the user is unable to create an account and unable to log in through the login form. So without being able to log in, the user will have a hard time using the app and will be unable to save their attraction trips that they decide to use. And then another one we found was the time required, unable to filter. For this one, when the user sorts attractions by duration, they're able to sort by three different iterations, less than an hour, 1 to 3 hours, over 3 hours. However, when the user tries to sort attractions by over 3 hours, it doesn't filter attractions with durations greater than 3 hours. For example, when the user looks at the duration of several attractions, such as the one seen on the presentation, like Grand Canyon Park, this one is 5 hours, and the user it is not included, and the user cannot see it when sorting by the time duration. I would put this bug at medium severity since it's not a critical function of the UI interface like the sign up or login forms. However, this bug would be medium in terms of severity since it will still lead to user dissatisfaction with the app since they'll be confused with how to see the duration of attractions. And then the sign up field requirements. This one is critical as well. For requirements, the user has a set of rules for the input fields for username and email in the sign up form. So basically, when the user tries to sign up by filling out the email and username fields, the user is able to add inputs that are not allowed for the field. So, for example, for the email, as shown in the picture, it accepts input without a local part, meaning it could take no @ symbol and without a domain name, and there's no incorrect error message for invalid inputs. And then on the other hand, for username, you can include special characters, non-Latin characters, more than 15 characters in length, and the incorrect error message for invalid inputs does not show the correct error message, and both fields are not highlighted in red. And you can see in the sign up field, obviously I was able to sign up with non-Latin characters. I would put this bug as critical because this means the system will authenticate credentials for users that are not allowed by the rules of the developers, and it could lead to confusion or potential new bugs in later release iterations. And then now the UI design on main page. For the main page of Daytripper, the app loads with no images or media at the top of the page, except for the logo, which is misaligned and needs to be adjusted. The images are only available at the bottom when viewing and selecting landmark attractions. The design, in my opinion, is not easy to read when we did accessibility testing, since there are confusing graphs such as distance per leg and maps that display routes with confusing lines connected to each other. We believe that this would be confusing to users with either disabilities or special needs. Also, we would put this bug at medium since the app is still somewhat accessible, with the user still being able to view attractions and use most filters. However, I would recommend the developers use more simple design graphs and maps with more simple language that's easy to understand for most users. So the app resize, this is low in terms of severity. However, when the user uses dev tools to resize the app to 200%, parts of the UI design are not correctly adjusted. So we can see when the user selects landmark attractions and resizes the app to 200%, parts of the card, such as the your trip summary and the landmarks, they are not displayed correctly, and parts of the card are cut off and are not correctly placed within the card. I would put this bug issue at low severity since it still does show, all, if not most or all the info and details of the landmarks card and only cuts off the border of the card, which doesn't have any text. However, we would recommend the developers fix this for app design consistency with different screen sizes. And this has been our presentation. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, that was wonderful. Fantastic. I'm just making sure I've got everything all squared away. I do. Okay, so now we are going to talk to Valentina. Hello, Valentina. How are you?
Hello, good in yourself?
Doing well. It seemed like you guys had not a lot of frustrations, but a lot to work with on this app. Would
We
you
did,
say?
yes.
So, how did you guys really think about what things to set as a severe priority and what things to set as kind of a moderate priority?
Yeah, so the thought process that we had went through was if it was critical, if the idea of the day tripper, it kind of defeated the purpose of it. So, for example, we couldn't creating your own personalized itinerary was
Mhm,
just obsolete. It didn't work. So that obviously is critical because it defeats the main purpose of the website, of the web platform. And
mhm.
Medium, I'd say something that it was still functional, but something that definitely did need attention.
Okay. And then in working with the the behind the scenes, I know you guys have to make user stories and things like that. Did you, as a team, do you guys come up with like, here's our typical user, or do you just start going through as like, I am Valentina, I am clicking the things and trying this stuff?
Yes, so the sign up requirements, I that was not my part of the project. That was all
Okay.
Benjamin. But I did try using my own like credentials and what I do have, my own personal information, and that unfortunately did not work and I couldn't create an account.
Oh, bummer. I guess there's no trips for anyone. How do you feel like the CodeJam went in looking at the coursework? Like, is the coursework that you've been taking well aligned with the things you get to practice in these jams?
I definitely say the exploratory testing was definitely part of it
Mm.
and the test documentation as well. So in some aspects, I believe it did.
So the test documentation now, is this like some mythical like document where you're writing down what?
Yeah, so like creating test cases and then
Okay.
documenting the bugs that we did find, documenting them in Jira or in Jira, sorry. And I know early on, this was in the really early sprints, it taught us how to use Jira. So I know that that came in handy and how to format and knowing
Okay.
what the software developers are looking for and
Yeah.
to phrase things.
Yes. As simply as possible for us. No, just kidding out there, my fellow devs. And then, how did you feel like the experience went? 5 days is not a lot of time. You guys certainly were able to come up with a lot of test cases, it seems. But with the pressures of like life and all, normal coursework, how did it go for you?
Yeah, so it felt like I was speed running this. I felt like I had to go really fast. But my partner Benjamin, he did a really good job, and I know that I had dedicated a lot of time on Friday and Saturday, so I'd probably spent a good close to maybe like 10 hours total doing all of this. But yeah, it felt like a lot, but thankfully we had actually finished everything by Sunday.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you guys so very much. Really great job. And I am very excited to see how the judging comes out for you guys as well. If you would like to vote for this team, I see a couple of you, Mikhail and Lily, in the YouTube chat. You can vote for our team, the Bug Hunters, by typing their name in the chat. All right. Now, so that is the Bug Hunters. Let me just clarify. That was the Bug Hunters with Benjamin Horowitz and Valentina Angulo. And now we're going to go to Aisha Habib with Team Aisha Habib. All right, Aisha, it is your turn. So I am going to go ahead and play Aisha's video presentation first, and then we will chat with her afterward. And as we all enjoy, we will relive the horror of me screen sharing.
Hello everyone and welcome to September Bug Jam. I am Aisha Habib representing Solo Squad. I love the challenge of breaking apps in creative ways because every bug found is a one step closer to a better product. Today I will walk you through my testing of a Day Tripper app. The spirit of Day Tripper is all about exploring, moving, and discovering new places, just like a car on a journey. The app takes user on a smooth trip from choosing landmarks to building a personalized route. Day Tripper is a trip planning web app designed to help users discover attractions, plan trips, and calculate routes with ease. For this app, I focused on testing the trip summary dashboard, filter attractions, and user registration. Together, these aim to make the planning trips more interactive and efficient. Let's look at its requirements. For the functional requirements includes user registration with input validation, filters that include sort and time limit, trip summary dashboard that represents real-time updates and lets the user to add up to five landmarks. Also, a button that is add to my trip that is necessary for landmark selection. Additional filtering has a sort by popularity, rating, and alphabetically options. There's also a time limit for trip feasibility. For the non-functional requirements, for the app testing, I performed performance, accessibility, usability, compatibility, and responsiveness. The tools that I used for testing are the Google Drive, Sheets and Slides for documentation and presentation, Jira for bug reporting, and TripleTen Hub for asking questions from my mentor. Now let's look at the test cases. The total number of test cases that I prepared were 57, out of which 36 of them passed, but 21 of them failed. Now let's look at the failed test cases. The high priority bugs were found to be 11, the medium priority bugs were 8, and low priority bugs are only 2. Now let's look at the app. As you can see on the screen, the landmarks in the trip summary dashboard does not start with a 0. Also, it does not show the landmark name when the user adds it for the first time. During testing, I also noticed that certain landmarks, for example, if I'm selecting Niagara Falls from the landmarks list, it will display wrong titles. And from user perspective, this creates confusion and reduces the trust in trip planning process. Now let's look at the filter attractions panel. I discovered that all of the options are working except the hidden gems option. When I select this option, it doesn't change anything, nor it shows any landmarks. That also needs to be improved. Over here, you can see from the screen high to medium priority bugs. As you can see that user can add more than 5 landmarks, which contradicts the requirements. Long distances are displayed inaccurately by including many more zeros. Also, you can see that duplicate landmarks are displayed inaccurately. Yosemite National Park has been the name has been duplicated again, and it also happens with the other landmarks titles. Over here, let's look at the sign-up model, which has some high priority bugs. First of all, there's no password field. Field validations are not applied for name and email field. The user can type the special characters. Also, error messages have inaccurate text. Now, coming on to the non-functional requirements, this app Daytripper supports both high and low resolution. It works across major browsers with a focus on Chrome. Also, it adapts well to the mobile apps, as you could see it on the screen, that all of its functionality is working properly with the desktop and with the mobile. My testing was focused on 4 main areas. First of all, the functional testing for registration, filters, and trip summary. Cross-platform to make sure that the app is responsive on both mobile and desktop. Performance, it has a smooth navigation and a clear trip flow. Overall, Daytripper has strong features and smooth trip planning experience. However, I identified a few key areas for improvement. First of all, making sure that landmark titles are accurate. Hidden gem option needs to work. Field validations for user registration, also including a password field and distance accuracy. Addressing these issues will make the app more reliable, accurate, and user-friendly. To wrap up, I would like to say that testing the Daytripper app was like testing a trip itself, exploring, discovering, and yes, finding a few bumps along the way. I really enjoyed testing this app and finding bugs as a solo participant. And thank you so much for watching.
All right, Aisha, solo squad. Well, so then my first question should be, how is working with your team? You,
Was
you like,
awesome.
yeah, like I
Doesn't
had
have to tell
expert advice all of the time.
doesn't have to tell what I'm doing, doesn't have to tell what to do next. Okay,
Just the perfect
just me.
partner.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly seems like you were really thorough. Did you have a plan of attack when you were going through the system? Because again, it's important for everyone to know that our students aren't doing a lot of automated testing; they're doing manual testing with this. And so, yeah, tell me about your plan of attack.
So first of all, I saw the sign up, the registration model. So because I was familiar with it with the previous bug jam, I was onto it. I did some exploratory testing on it, and I was confirmed that it is just as the previous one. So I knew all the thing that okay, the fields are not getting read, they are
Yeah.
giving the wrong error messages. So right away I just did that. I knew that they have this much bugs and they have this much it's not gonna work. And the good thing was that password field was not there. So it just made a whole lot easier, making less test cases. Then Going on to the dashboard and the filters, yes. So I had to like work with it again and again just to make sure that I'm getting the right bugs.
Yeah.
And I also confirmed it with Irina. I was like, with the gray areas, this is the logic. Should I just test more about the duplicates or this much? So I had some
Mm.
questions for that. Other than that, this app was working well with the, compatibility. Like it was working and it did not glitch or it did not broke when you are changing the desktop or mobile. So that was a good thing. There were nothing failed there, no bugs there. But yes, with the dashboard and filter options, I had to create like 7 or 8, 10 reports, bug reports for that.
My goodness. And so in the end, you came up with quite a few in terms of like severity levels and different bugs. When you go and present these, what is your kind of method of presenting them to developers, right? Do you kind of go in there and slam it on the desk and be like, you guys gotta fix it? Or do you take a softer approach?
Bug report, I would just say the steps to reproduce. And now I've started putting the short videos as like those are the same
Oh,
short videos I'm putting in the presentation. Those are the same short videos that I'm putting in the bug report. So instead of screenshots, I'm putting a video. Okay, this hidden gem. If you click on it, it's not working. So, but all the
love
other
that.
options are working. So if I have to talk to a developer, I would first go on to a positive side and then on the negative side. So just to make sure, not saying, "Oh, your app doesn't work, your app is so wrong," or
Like you
this or
broke it.
so going on the first step, like giving them a positive feedback. See, all of your options are working. Only this one needs to be improved. You can see it from this
I love that.
video that that option needs or for the options, you could see that the greater than the maximum limit was not working. So I would say, see, all of your sort bys are working, just the maximum length is not working. So just improve that.
I love the idea of using the videos in conjunction with like all of your notes too, because
Mhm,
sometimes you really do just need to be able to see what is going on, what the behavior is. So that's a really
mhm,
great tip.
mhm.
So in preparing for all of this, you still have your coursework and all of that. Kind of the same question I was asking Valentina, like how did you feel like the pressure was for you, especially being on a solo team?
Mhm. So with I have finished my coursework. I am in career acceleration program, like applying to jobs, and I feel like with the tough market and with getting more and more rejections, bug jam is something that you could represent your work. You could
Yeah.
tell them, yes, I can do this work, and I keep on putting it on my LinkedIn on that to showcase it. Yes, I am a QA tester, or I am a QA analyst, and you could see me
Hmm.
working over here. Because other than that, I see there's no way to convince them. And it's
Or
like writing your like making your resume for each and other job, like customized resume, and then making an email, and then also a cover letter, three different things, and then asking them, connecting them, and still you don't get anything. So I feel like that coming into the bug jam or making my presentation will represent, yes, I could do it.
yeah, I think these are really great pieces to be able to include as like
Mhm,
a portfolio piece, right? Like
mhm,
not just static on a page, but also kind of live and in person. So
mhm,
definitely a really great strategy. I love that.
mhm.
All right. Well, that is our last presentation for the evening. And that is, again, that was our solo squad with Aisha Habib. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Aisha. And if you'd like to vote for her team, a very strong team, very strong team, team of one, which means it has to be strong. You can vote for a solo squad by typing the team name in the chat there. And then also, if you are a student, just a quick reminder, all of our teams will be available in the hub. So you can go ahead and vote for those teams there as well. So That pretty much wraps up our bug jam for this evening. I hope all of you really enjoyed watching these teams come up with these remarkable amount of bug cases they were able to pull from a very small app. So just kind of expand your brain there a little bit and think about on an enterprise scale, right? Or a small business scale, how important it is to have QA testers like these people. Evaluating the different software changes that are being made or things you're building because you just don't know what's going to slip through. And these people are the ones to catch all of it. So, thank you very much for watching again. My name is Tiffany Hall. I am not just a solo squad, I am also on a team. And so I want to say thanks to my team who helps make this possible each week. And that is Irina, Elena, Natasha, Anastasia, Dennis, and of course, my cat Sharkbait. Thank you again to all of our participants tonight in the QA squads, but also thank you to our team of the data and code miners for letting us use your project from your code jam. I really appreciate the kind of courage that both sets of students have to be able to grow and foster growth in others. So. Again, my name is Tiffany Hall. You can find me at Tiffany Codes on Instagram and on my website at tiffanycodes.com. And you can find my cat Sharkbait judging all of your life choices. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night.